Welcome, everybody. This is the Soul Path Community Friday class, and today we're going to be talking about the astrology for August of 2025. The ephemeris is here in the recording and the notes for you to check back on. It's always good. You see here at the bottom the lunar ingresses. What sign the moon is always a good indication of kind of the emotional flavor of a couple of days and the next couple of days. And we see that, during this month, we've got a few shifts. We don't have a lot like we do sometimes, lots of retrogrades, lots of sign changes. August 6th, Mars will move into the sign of Libra. It's been in Virgo for the last couple of months. And I've noticed that depending on where that is in people's charts, that can be kind of irritating and sort of a certain aggressiveness about perfectionism and picky details. So I think we'll enjoy having the planet of action, will, and desire being a little more balanced and harmonious. It is, of course, the exact opposite of what Mars likes to be in. Mars likes to be in the opposite sign Aries, where it can do what it wants, when it wants, and go quickly. But Libra slows it down, and Mars in Libra is very good for negotiating and mediating whatever it is that's going on in your relationships. We have the full moon and the new moon, 17 Aquarius, and just almost half a degree of Virgo. We will look at that in more detail as we get into the charts. Mercury, which is retrograde right now, and as much as I try not to get overly nervous or scared or angry about Mercury retrogrades, this one in Leo seems to be a little bit of a challenge. I personally have noticed a lot of tech issues. So, tread carefully, slowly, read the fine print. And the sun will move into Virgo on the 22nd of the month, and Venus will be moving into Leo. So, Venus, Sun, and Mercury are always within a few signs, right? They can't go beyond the sign on either side of the sun. So we will have, Mercury and Venus both in Leo, where, we're looking at creativity and leadership and internal power as the sun goes into the sign that is about, solving things, fixing things, and getting into the details. Now, I had this slide up last month for us to, just bear witness to the fact that we have a trine sextile triangle between the outer planets, right? Pluto in Aquarius, digging us deep into all things Aquarian to expose the corruption and the problems, but then ultimately to build more progress, technology, equality into systems. Doesn't seem like what's going on right now in many ways, but we are in the exposure phase. Then we have Uranus, the planet of radical change, awakening, revolution, high level thinking, technology, and it has just moved into Gemini. So that trine between them, that flow of the initiating seed energy that started in the mid 60s, they are now capable of really moving together and being aligned with the energies that they are bringing forward into the world. Uranus asks us to wake up to something. And for 7 years, it's been asking us to wake up to the issues of the earth, financial issues, security on all levels, what makes goodness and what isn't. And now we have this new wake up call that we're just getting the appetizer of this month. And that wake up call is about information, communication, what we know, how we process information. And as we know, there's a certain level of um, fraudulent information out there in the world. There is, many people who seem not to be using critical thinking skills. Yeah, we need to wake up to the idea of education and information and processing, and especially all of the potential we have with technology to be continually duped. So Pluto and Uranus in a trine, we have a flow. Now, they both are sextiling, which is like a trine, but it's a little faster, considered more excitable, and kind of a little wilder. But it is their sextiles and trines are flow. And that is flowing into Saturn and Neptune. Now, Neptune, we know, is high spiritual energy, intuition, compassion, transcendent creativity. It really gives us our sense of oneness with the cosmos. It gives us our sense of divine creativity. It is the way we experience oneness in soul-centered vibration with individuals or trees or the sky. And it is the imagination and the way that we can conceive of something ideal and then hopefully ground it, bring it into reality. And Saturn suggests that that's what we are doing as they are joining together this year in Aries, then they're in Pisces, going backwards a little bit, then they go forward. And by next year, February 20th, they launch a synodic cycle where their energies are kind of like imprinted in our psyche. And Saturn is always about the reality. In general, it's about bringing uh, divine into grounded, organized, structured presence. And so this is what we're charged with during these next few years to, bring what we can imagine, our highest frequency of love and light, and how can we structure that into our systems, into our government, into our businesses, into the structure of each one of our personal lives. And since there's always a negative and there's always a shadow to everything, what we're also seeing at this point in time are, lies and delusions and tricky aspects going on, and it's very difficult to know who to trust and what to trust. So we have the higher frequency of this triangle that is birthing, and we also have the shadow sides of it and the problems that it is exposing for us about life in general, but also wherever this is in your chart, it's exposing the highest frequency of what you're here to build, as well as where there could be some challenges, where you could be confused or lied to, where you could not see everything you need to see and need to learn more, amplify, integrate, and synthesize what you know, where you need to be free and authentic and you feel like you aren't. So this is a lot of new energy that's birthing right now. The sign of Aries is a fire sign. Gemini and Aquarius are air signs. So these are directed, they're strong, and we're coming in off cycles where many of the outer planets were in water and earth, more intuitive, softer, more receptive. So things are going to be speeding up and speeding up. When I presented this, this has been lightly building for a few months, but now that Uranus is in Gemini, it became very strong, very, very tight trine sextile. I decided to start just, moving the chart forward just to see how far this was going on. Never in a million years thinking that it was going to last for so long. I just month after month after month, what is happening now? Saturn will move out. Saturn moves a lot faster than these outer planets. So Saturn will get out of range next year. It'll start to veer off like a horse out of the barn. But these other ones, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, the three transpersonal main outer planets, they are going to be in this triangular formation with each other more or less for years. I followed it all the way out to 2028, 2029 before it started to dissipate a little bit. So this is a very, very important um, geometric aspect. We think of all of life as geometry, it's energy, it's what's connected and what is disconnected. This is so important for you to look at in your own chart and know, where do you have planets in the early degrees of the mutable signs or the cardinal signs, fixed signs, right? That's so, that's all of them. So we've got Gemini and as the most significant for Uranus, and then opposite Sagittarius, so early degrees of Sagittarius, and then Pisces, Virgo, early degrees there. Then definitely Aquarius, where Pluto is, but also Leo, and then go to the square, Taurus, Scorpio. And then the Aries, yep, super strong, go opposite Libra, and then square it with Cancer and Capricorn. So it really doesn't even matter what sign we're talking about. This lineup, this energetic triangle of transformation and restructuring matters to you. If you have planets, I was going to say 0 to 5 degrees in any sign, and maybe in the last couple of degrees before these signs. So very late degrees, 28, 29, because there's still a little retrograde action. And even though out of sign, these planets are going to affect late degrees of any sign. And then over the next few years, it's going up slowly but surely to 6, 7 degrees. So overall, 0 to 10 degrees in any sign is highly activated by this triangle for the upcoming 3 years minimum. And this is, very much the world stage, very much a level of change that yeah, we haven't seen. That it does give me, even though, sort of the reality picture out there in the world is very painful at this time. There's too much suffering and loss, too many wars. But the fact that many ideas for progress, I mean, virtually all ideas for progress, birthed radically in the 60s when Pluto and Uranus were together, that we have women's rights, Black rights, gay rights, climate, organic gardening, holistic health, care of children, anything to do with, equality, equity, moving from the old paradigm into new. That all birthed in the 60s. And I feel like this is where we're asked with Saturn, Neptune in Aries to be courageous and brave. And I keep hearing this all the time on the news and social media, where leaders are calling on each one of us to be courageous and brave and step into whatever power or choice we have. And with this triangle, like new ideas and coming together, feeling connected. After the pandemic, many of us lost that feeling of connection. So here we are at this point, and it is just absolutely worth uh, bearing witness to this fact that this level of change that we're in just continues to like be baked into us. Now, in these classes, we are doing the full moons and new moons primarily as we look at the month ahead. And so the first one that comes forward is August 9th at 3:55 a.m. in East Coast time. And that full moon is 16 degrees and 59 minutes of Leo. We'll call it 17. 17 degrees of Leo. And look at this bright blue kite formation that takes us right into the sextile trine of the outer planets. And it is coming in the grand trine portion of it is connected to Mars at this full moon in Libra. Remember what I said a moment ago about Mars in Libra is not really where Mars wants to be. Mars wants to be in fiery Aries and go for it, make things happen. But in Libra, it must operate through the mantle of harmony, balance, peace, justice, and relational skills, understanding, what others around us need. So, and did I say full moon in Leo? Thank you for pointing this out to me. It is a full moon in Aquarius, but the sun is in Leo. I wish I could just take my change that, but I will change it later. So it is a full moon in Aquarius, and um, with an Aquarius full moon, the moon is uh, asking us to let go of something. What are we finishing? And the sun is asking us to be directed, to move forward, to focus, to choose, right? The sun is always the CEO. It's moving, it's shining its light on things and gives us a sense of internal power and maybe leadership. When we have a kite formation, the apex of the kite, which in this place is Saturn Neptune, is is telling us like what in the system is a little bit under pressure. So what's under pressure is, if we think about the negative of it, the delusion and the illusions that we're feeling in the structure of society. And what we're asked to focus on and build is this new vision and building it into the structures. And we have here uh, the full moon also suggesting that we are at some place of culmination or completion. Sometimes I think of it as being on a plateau and, sort of looking at what has been accomplished so far, taking stock of things, and then getting ready for the next leg of the journey. And sometimes we are in a place where we are completely done. We are complete and we are letting go. And excuse me, and we are finishing a definite phase of life. Now, other aspects that are going on in the sky at this point in time, we've got Chiron in Aries. It's been in Aries for years now. It's asking us to be courageous and brave and to believe that we can do what we want to do. Venus and Jupiter in Cancer is suggesting that we are wanting to be in nurturing relationships that are in alignment with our beliefs, with what is true for us. And of course, we have the Mercury retrograde. Um, the Mercury retrograde began around 15 degrees of Leo, but at this point in time, it is just ready to go direct. So it's pretty stationed. So know that, yes, right now we are in this review period of all things Leo. At the same time, we have the sun moving through Leo, and we just had a Leo new moon at 2 degrees of Leo. So there's this launching energy toward the expression of, our creativity, our sense of joy, playfulness, pleasure, our desire to be loyal with the people that we care about, to be expressive in all ways. So I hope you are all enjoying this Leo period. And this is such a Mercury retrograde. I'm just like, I've got the hand plant here. Like, I can't believe I called this a Leo full moon, but yeah, it was late last night. Okay, and then we come to the new moon. Okay, so the new moon barely into Virgo, 23 minutes of Virgo. And bear in mind that the South Node is in Virgo, and we are asked to be letting go of anything in our self or environment that is like too much Virgo, whether it is that we are worried, anxious, picky, critical, stuck in the details, can't see the forest for the trees. If that is you in any way, this year and a half time period that we're about midway through is all about letting go of excess Virgo and coming into the North Node, Pisces of surrender, trust, high frequency spiritual energy, trusting our intuition, not feeling that we have to analyze everything and have all the data correct. So there's a little bit of a reverse polarity here that the new moon representing new launch, new starts in Virgo, that's suggesting initiating the Virgo energy. But what it means is the positive of it. So the positive Virgo energy is skillfulness, problem solving, being able to see all the details clearly, a certain level of humility, service, devotion. These are all the words that come to me when I think of that most beautiful quality of Virgo. It's the quiet person that makes you a cup of tea and makes you so comfortable. It's almost like not even there in some ways. And this is what we're asked to be building on as we come into the later part of this month. Uh, you can see that there is a way that this new moon is attached to all the pieces of this everlasting triangle of transformation, but in more challenging ways. It's in a quincunx to Pluto and a quincunx to the Saturn Neptune. Well, we know what that makes, right? Quincunx, two quincunxes, and a sextile between the bottom parts of that triangle. That is a yod. That is a finger of God. And that means that that new moon is very much a focal point for us as a collective or wherever that shows up in your life, there's a focal point to pay attention to that house, to that sign, to what you've got going on there. Do you have planets there at very early degrees of Virgo or maybe the very late degrees of Leo? What is it that you are solving a problem about that you need to be skillful and analyze something in a positive way without the anxiety and the worry as much as possible? And then, of course, it's also in a square to Uranus. So where Uranus is saying, wake up, gather more information, learn more, synthesize it, you're going to need that to be able to evolve in this next 7 years. That's kind of stressful to the new moon in Virgo that's saying, hey, wait a minute, I need to analyze it all before I can synthesize it. We need to slow this down. We need to look at all the details. We need to make sure we're right. Uranus in Gemini is kind of like, oh, new ideas, new information, new energy. Let's go for it. Uranus in Gemini has a lot to do with AI and all of the information that we are capable of both generating and also learning about. But I think the new moon in Virgo wants us to focus in on what is our path of service. How can we do whatever it is we're doing in the most skillful way possible? And you can see at this new moon time, we've got Venus coming toward the end of the Cancer. Jupiter will be in Cancer from June 9th that went in all the way to the end of June next year. So we've got a long runway of expanding what brings us emotional and heart-centered security. Mars in Libra, still, moving forward with a certain amount of balance and harmony. Helena, you have a question?
Yes, could you just repeat? You said for a yod or a finger of God, it's like the meaning is like intensity. Like what's the meaning again from the evolutionary definition?
The meaning is that the planet, or in this case, the planets, the new moon, that are at the apex of the yod, at the point of the triangle, it's like the finger of God is pointing at them and saying, do this. And because they're in quincunx with Pluto and Saturn, Neptune, quincunx is an aspect that is uncomfortable, difficult. It's like they're not in the same ball game. They're not even in the same football field. They are in completely different places. There is no way for those energies to connect with each other. They don't see each other. They don't understand each other. They don't know each other. Virgo is so different from Aquarius and so different from Aries that it's like, I don't get it. When you have a yod, though, what happens is the 2 points at the bottom of the yod that are in sextile with each other, they can connect. Okay, they are in a sextile, so they're talking to each other. Think about in your own chart or people Aquarians and Aries, sometimes it's a little hard to tell the difference, right? They both do what they want to do. They both, have a strong sense of self, and it's okay if I want to pivot. Aries tends to be a little bit more impulsive and directed and maybe not even noticing others. Aquarius notices others and feels one with everybody, but feels the legitimate ability to be unique and to break free and rebel and change and pivot as much as they want to. So those two signs that are both considered masculine or directed, they are talking to each other easily. And when they do that on the sextile, they can find a midpoint compromise, which is in the sign of Pisces. And then through their midpoint compromise in Pisces, surrender, trust, flexibility, then they can connect with the point that's the apex of the yod. And so it's through finding the spiritual context that Pluto, Neptune, and Saturn can find for whatever it is they're doing that's brave, courageous, and freedom loving, that connects into the Virgo. And then the Virgo can move things forward with this sense of service, humility, devotion, and problem solving. So in your chart, wherever this early degrees of Virgo is again, or late degrees of Leo, that's where this finger of God is pointing you to take skillful action to solve the problems that are in that part of your chart and to use the Pluto, Saturn, Neptune coming together at that midpoint level in Pisces. And maybe you've got some planets at, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 degrees of Pisces that will help you integrate those energies. But overall, let's say you don't, I would say the medicine here for the new moon is Pisces. And we know that to be meditation, breathing, nature, yoga, uh, consciousness on every level, reading the spiritual teachers, letting yourself calm down into acceptance, allowing sort of a bigger picture of what's going on in the world to help frame our worldview at this time when there's so much disruption and so much change. I'm back. I'm going back. One more thing to notice is that Uranus is in a square to the nodes. I'm square to Uranus. Um, Square to the new moon. Okay. And so that means that that's kind of another piece of this whole triangular complex that has to be um, integrated and synthesized. And when you have a square, remember the translation of it is that there's a certain stress energy that the two planets don't necessarily come together, but you can find a way to bring them together. They are, mutable in this case, Uranus in Gemini and the new moon in Virgo. And in that mutability, it's a little easier to work with a square than when the square is fixed or cardinal. But the squares require a creative new approach. So something about Uranus bringing you ideas of, what you have to learn more about and ways you need to wake up to communication and knowledge and data has to find a new way of expressing uh, in whatever it is you're doing that is skillful in problem solving. So the problem, basically we could break it down to solve the problems in your life skillfully, you probably need more information, and you may need to get the information in a new way. Because Uranus rules technology, because Pluto is in the sign of technology right now. I might say for many of us, uh, technology may be a way that we have to solve our problems and learn more at this point in time. I know, many people are concerned about what's happening with AI, how much water it uses, what it is capable of doing that might be negative and harmful to our society, but it's here. It's not going away. We've already been integrating and using it in many aspects of business for many years, but now that it's kind of out there, in the world, like the horse out of the barn, I would say that for many of us to learn how to use it skillfully and to learn how to discern when it's not being used in a positive way, to be able to see that, like to be able to see uh, fake videos and find a way to filter the kind of information we're getting so that we have accurate information. That may be something that we're all needing to learn at this point in time. It's like we're moving into a new dimension on this planet. So that's pretty much it for the lecture portion of our class today. Now we're going to move into looking at the charts of people who are here in person. Just pointing out that there's my talks coming up have been about the same for several months, but I've just been asked to speak at the Vancouver Astrological Guild in September on relationship evolution. That's working with progressed charts, progressed synastry, and progressed composites in understanding the evolution of relationships. So, and also I will point out in August, my talk with the OPA speaker series on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock is coming up, and that is the Astrology of Love in 2025. I'm working on that now, taking all these planets, moving into new signs, 5 planets and the nodes moving into new signs in 2025, and interpreting it in terms of relationships. So, definitely if you're an OPA member, come to that. If you're not an OPA member, you can come to that webinar for $15 and sign up on the OPA website. So thank you for listening to the lecture portion. And let's move on, and I will stop the share and we can talk about a few charts and really apply this information to your charts today.